Our journey takes us to an island you may have heard of, about halfway between Tasmania and Victoria. King Island is wild and remote. A bountiful wonderland, full of tales of shipwrecks, adventure, and mystery.
They're looking for bark, insects under the bark.
This island attracts all sorts of wanderers.
King Island makes you realise who you actually are.
It's total freedom, so that's what I like about it. And it keeps you fit.
I'm here to meet the real King Islanders, the people who've carved out a life on this rock, surrounded by some of the roughest seas in the world.
Started panicking, flailing, and then something just clicked.
Why are many of those who left coming back? And what makes King Island such a safe harbour? Paul Daniel has dived his whole life. And luckily, his sons Joseph and Isaac share his love of the ocean.
We've just got such incredible scenery. You just poke your head under there and you've got a completely, an amazing world of life, of weeds, and it's just magnificent. And once you get a taste of that, you know, it's, you're hooked.
I love spearfishing the most, so any fish like trumpeter or sweep, even cuttlefish or something like that. But getting crayfish is pretty brutal when you're in the caves and everything's really, really dangerous.
Not bad for an hour's work. But there is a price to pay. The dangers here are very real. When Paul was 24, he came to this exact spot to catch a crayfish. He quickly caught the cray, but then the currents caught him. You know this sea. You would have known you were in big trouble.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I started panicking, yeah, flailing, and, you know, just, you know, just really quite pathetic. And then something just clicked, and I thought, nah, okay, I'm going to have to take this up a notch in terms emotionally. And I got myself together.
Paul spotted a fisherman's float line and buoys attached to a cray pot and tied himself to it.
I was out there and I could see the lights, the search party come down, and I was so far out to see, I didn't bother shouting or anything. They found one of my booties, you know, it's like, is this his? Yep, doesn't look good. You see the lights looking, then I see the lights go.
Incredibly, Paul was rescued the next morning by a father and son who'd come to check their cray pot. During his 18 hours lost at sea, one thing kept Paul going.
I could see the light just shining, coming around, coming around, coming around. That was something comforting. It's a beacon of hope, a lighthouse.
I don't reckon too many people have survived that long in that colder water without a life vest or any float. So pretty impressive.
What do you think, Isaac?
If I was him, I wouldn't go diving again.
Paul grew up on King Island. He moved to Melbourne in his 20s to try city life. But it wasn't for him.
The energy that was coming from the island, and that was pulling me back all the time. Like, I've got to get back there. Still feels like a public holiday when it's not blowing on King Island. You feel that?
Sure.
Yeah. So when we got days like this, it's just magnificent. You can be calm.
You look like you'd be calm all the time to me.
Yeah, I'm fairly calm.
King Island is world famous for its food, mainly cheese and beef.
So I've got spinach there, I've got cauliflower, cabbage, I've got garlic there.
Here on Paul's farm in Curry, everything is bursting with flavour.
They're so sweet. I might be here all day.
Paul lets me in on his secret.
It's like tomate tiempo. Just take time. Just take it easy. Relax.
I'm impressed by Paul's calm nature. I wonder if all King Islanders are as laid back.
The energy's in the sea. It's quite extraordinary. And when it's really wild, you get out there and you come back absolutely dripping wet and everything like that. But I don't know, you feel good.
Caroline Kinninmonth moved to the island from Victoria in the 1990s.
You do things on King Island that you never thought you would do. You really do. I came for a weekend after losing everything in a house fire and obviously going through a little bit of drama. And I thought, this is fascinating. So I put an old Subaru in the airport with a tent and camped the island on and off for a year, realising it's rather fun.
Caroline regularly swam in the harbour, and that's when she noticed a derelict boathouse. It was built in 1871 and was originally used to store the lighthouse keeper's boat. Caroline collected windows from the tip and turned the building into a haven for locals and tourists.
Oh, the cheese is amazing on King Island. This is this beautiful smoked cheddar, which is my favourite.
It's become known as the restaurant with no food.
So how is it run?
On an honesty system, which still amazes people from away. That's what we call people that don't live on King Island, you're from away. So they bring their food and they've even got to do the dishes, which is a bit of a joke, because sometimes I have very fancy people who've probably never done a dish in their life, And there they are with the record player going, doing the dishes, and they all start talking. It's a bit old-fashioned.
And you get to see all sorts of weather here as well.
Well, you do. King Island can be really, really wild, and the waves can come right under this boathouse, which is extraordinary. But that's the fun. You have about 4 climates a day. King Island is an inspiration for my art. I'm so lucky. I love colour, and colour makes you feel good. The kelp, I do love the kelp. I find it very, very sexy, sensuous. And I work with kelp, just having a lot of fun with it. I think probably a lot of people who've lost things do snap at some stage in their life and change direction. And quite a few people on this island have changed direction drastically. It embraces you. King Island embraces you.
Come on, Heather.
Morning.
Jump in. Don't let the grass grow under your feet. We've got money to make.
Right.
You've got to dodge the potholes and the kangaroos. You need to...
It's not moving.
Look,
It's simple. So you make a bit of dough out of this?
oh yeah, it's all right. It's a bit like picking $50 notes up in the foreshore. There's always someone that's willing to do that. But you can't have it. You got to have a license for it, right?
I'm just looking at mine.
You're just looking.
Thanks.
You're a spectator. But you can help.
Every morning, Dave Bowling drives out to his dad's farm to pick up bull kelp, which washes up by the truckload.
But he jumped off early for his run, your dog.
Oh, King Island's a paradise for dogs. I mean, look at his hound.
Yeah.
I've been on plenty of back roads, but this is one rough ride.
Someone's beaten you here.
You going to be able to pay the mortgage off today? Bit slimy? Yeah, all right. What we do, we've got a gentleman's agreement here that if you first arrive at a bay, then that's considered your territory.
Right.
So the next guy has to move on to the next bay. You can be lucky or unlucky, you know. Mark might have pulled up there and there's not much there, and hopefully when we go over here, there's going to be a lot there.
They call this stuff weed around here, and after it's dried and crushed, it's shipped overseas to be used in products like shampoo and ice cream. It's even a foaming agent in beer.
You can even get kelp tablets for the dog. So if your dog's looking a bit crook, buy some kelp tablets, you might get some of this stuff, and the dog will be running around like mine.
Being a Kelpie, Rufus is the right breed for the job.
You're a real Kelpie, aren't you?
Bring it in. Where is it?
It looks a pretty tough job.
Yeah, it may look tough, but I tell you what, I can have a load of kelp finished and hung in town by lunchtime, and then I can go surfing for the rest of the day. So how good's that?
Dave was raised on King Island. He took off for many years to travel the world. He was working in Bali when the bombs went off in 2002. It was a terrifying time.
due to the bombing and the turmoil that went on there, we decided that the best thing for the family was to move back to the island where we could provide good education for my son and, you know, that's a lot more secure to bring up a family. So we made that move in 2004.
So no going back?
If you've lived on King Island and then you move away from it, people always call it home. Yeah, and you get to know most people, so we don't have to lock our cars or houses and that because we know pretty much who's who and what they do and where they go. So, and if you don't know, you make it up.
The Bowling family has farmed at Surprise Bay at the southern end of King Island since 1889.
Come and meet my old man and my stepson.
Hello
That's Peter
there.
and
Hello, Peter. Good to meet you.
G'day.
And Sumar.
Nice to meet you.
So we've got all the generations here.
Yep.
And how did your family end up here on King Island?
My great-grandmother became a widow and she brought 10 kids out to Australia,
From where?
Lancashire.
Gosh, what a journey.
Yeah.
And to such a remote part of
And she had
Australia.
a big house there to come to King Island when she had nothing.
So basically she was living with maids and then she came to King Island and went camping for the rest of her life.
And look, that's why you're all here.
Yeah, exactly.
Elizabeth Bowling and her sons were the first Europeans to successfully farm here. 6 generations later, Sukma is helping run the family's beef property. Sukma was only 6 years old when he came to King Island from Indonesia and spoke no English.
Bit of a shock, weather-wise. It's never been... I've never really seen grass as well, so that was pretty interesting. And I think that's why I really enjoy farming as well, being able to see things grow and just develop and, yeah.
Well, you're in the right spot for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
The boys have brought me here to show me one of the island's biggest unsolved mysteries. This is King Island's Mystery Wall.
So what, has everyone got a theory about how this wall came to be here?
I know it's probably one of the oldest structures on the island and no one's really found out the history of it. That's all I know.
Wow.
Yeah,
It would have taken a bit to build.
that's right.
This place is referred to on some maps as Sealers Wall. Sealers were here in the early 1800s, and some locals believe they built the wall. But there is evidence Aboriginal people were on King Island thousands of years before that. Could they have built the wall? I think this is a mystery that is likely to stay unsolved. There are so many places on King Island that are intriguing. This coastline was notorious for shipwrecks. 130 wrecks still lie in the waters here.
It's just very low shore. They just can't see it if they sort of get their navigation out a bit. Stormy night, and they can just run ashore before they realise. It's also very shallow.
Christian Robertson is a local who loves to unlock the past.
Now, out here, Heather, in 1866 in July was the wreck of the Netherby. And it's an interesting wreck because there was no fatalities. They're all immigrant families coming out to Queensland. They then progressed across these rocks up into the hollow here, which is behind us here, and that became the survivors' camp for around 10 days until they could
They
get
all
rescued.
ended up here. How many?
Roughly about 500 from memory. But then they had the addition of another one added to the list, which was a baby that was born the day after they were wrecked.
Born right here.
Right here.
How
and luckily
amazing.
it survived well and went on to live a good life.
Over the years, Christian has found so many interesting treasures. Pieces of history that have washed ashore.
It's not unusual to pick up bits of glass, pottery, you know, smoking pipes, things like that.
And do you always bring your handy little dog?
I do. Come on. You see if we can find
The
a bit of
name is
shipwreck?
Come On.
Yeah, come on.
You're kidding me.
What answered?
Come on. Come on. Come on.
Gonna find a bit of rest?
King Island is still offering people a place to shelter, just like it did for those passengers on the Netherby more than 150 years ago.
This is King Island Community Radio, 100.5 FM. What about the weather today? Have a look. No wind, the sunshine there.
King Island's only radio station broadcasts out of a studio here in the forest.
We're going to talk to Kate Revich, and we're going to talk about birds of King Island. Now, Kate, how is things going with the birds? How does it look?
Look, what we're learning is that we actually have quite a number of threatened species, and two of which are extremely critically endangered, well, three are critically endangered, but two...
Kate Ravitch and her husband were living in Sydney when they bought a property on King Island in 2004. They'd come for a holiday and fallen in love with the place.
Our criteria was, I wanted a big sky and Bob wanted to be able to see the sea. And we sat on this crumbling old veranda, and Bob looked around, he's quite a dry sense of humour, and he looked round and said, "Oh, is the sky big enough?" And of course it was.
Kate and her husband didn't get their dream of a long life together on King Island. Bob passed away in 2012.
He wanted to be buried on King Island because he finally... Bob was a Polish refugee in the Second World War as a tiny little boy. So his need for a sense of place was actually really strong. And he got to King Island, and I think for the first time, he actually felt really safe.
Sing me a song like the bird on the wind. Look how she learns to fly, carrying hope to the people I know, over sea to sky.
Understanding what birds are around you helps you to understand the world around you. You just stop thinking about anything else, don't you? And it makes you feel part of the world. You know, we are a part of it. We're not separate from it. Look, I love it. And they're fascinating, don't you think? Birds are fascinating creatures.
I've been invited along to join Kate and this group of bird enthusiasts.
Some of the really professional birders are extraordinary at how they pick sounds and spot birds.
And you see he's poking underneath the bark. They're looking for bark, insects under the bark.
And? But how could you even see that when you were standing there talking to me?
Because I just saw them move.
Oh.
Kate's always been passionate about conservation. She wants to save the birds from being lost forever.
There's a couple of families up here.
King Island's brown thornbill is only found here. But due to bushfires and land clearing, it's considered the next Australian bird most likely to become extinct.
We estimate there's only about 50 to 100 individual birds left, which is tiny. And then there's a King Island scrub tit.
Yeah, and I just love that name.
I know lots of people ask about that name, but that's what he is. And he's about the same. We've got about 50 to 100 birds left.
Graham Beatty is 86 years old and has been a birder since he was 3.
It's a bit like listening to music. You pick up a tune and you like listening to that tune. And bird calls, if you listen to the call, sometimes it goes up and down like music, up and then down.
Kate is frustrated that it's been left to volunteers to watch over the birds, with little help from governments.
It's a moral thing. You know, do we as a species have the right to knowingly allow another species to become extinct because of our behaviour? And I don't believe we do.
You picking up birds down there? Oh, blackhead, no, strong bill.
Since my late husband's death, I find it wonderful down here. I love the community. It's a very warm, friendly kind of place. I feel really good here. I feel very happy here.
King Island has a lot of things people are chasing right now. There's a real simplicity to life here and a closeness to nature.
This was my first time on King Island, and I'll never forget it. There's a calmness and confidence to the people I've met. They have found their safe harbour, and I reckon they will never take it for granted.
You just win back a bit of your space. You just can get back a little bit of life for yourself here.
There's something here that I can't put my finger on. Yeah, I've become myself. And that's what it is. King Island makes you realise who you actually are.
Thanks for joining us on our journey right around Australia. We're already busy filming more fascinating people and places for our next series. Until then, we hope to see you somewhere on the back roads.